If you ever see the sky staring back at you, don't look up again. I need to start with that warning because I didn't listen when I should have. I thought it was just my imagination, or maybe a trick of exhaustion, the kind of strange visions you get when you haven't slept for days. But it wasn't exhaustion. It wasn't madness. Something was up there, above us all, watching. I'll tell you everything, but you have to promise me one thing. If the stars ever look wrong to you, if the night seems heavier than it should, get inside, lock your doors, and pray that it doesn't notice you. The first time I saw it was 2 months ago. I had just moved into a decaying town called Black Hollow, a forgotten place where the streetlights barely worked and the air always smelled faintly of rust. People didn't talk much there. They kept their heads down, especially at night. I rented a small attic apartment above an abandoned bookstore. The landlord, an old man with glassy eyes, didn't even bother giving me a proper tour. He just handed me the keys and muttered, "Don't stay out after dusk. Not here." At the time, I thought he was warning me about crime, or maybe drunks wandering the alleys. But no, his words meant something else entirely. It started with the sky. The first night I noticed it, I had been staring out my window, trying to convince myself I'd made the right choice moving there. The town looked wrong. The streets were too quiet. The houses sagged under years of neglect, and above them, the sky was darker than any sky I'd ever seen. Not just the absence of stars, a darkness that seemed alive. At first I thought it was storm clouds rolling in, but then the clouds shifted, and for just a second, I saw something through the gaps. Eyes. Not stars. Eyes. Dozens of them, glowing faintly red, set deep within the night itself. I blinked, rubbed my eyes, and they were gone. Just black sky again, as if nothing had been there. But I swear to you, I wasn't imagining it. Over the next week, strange things began to happen. At night, I'd hear scratching sounds on the roof, as though something massive was dragging its weight across the shingles. I told myself it was just raccoons, or maybe a stray cat, but the sound was too heavy, too deliberate. Sometimes I'd hear a low hum reverberating through the walls of my room, like the air itself was vibrating. My chest would tighten, my teeth would buzz, and I'd feel a pressure inside my skull that left me gasping for air. And then came the dreams. Every night, I dreamt I was lying in the middle of a field, staring up at the sky. The stars above me were gone. In their place, a vast shadow loomed across the heavens, with countless tendrils stretching out across infinity, and those red eyes, always watching. Sometimes, in the dream, the tendrils would lower, sweeping across the earth like searching fingers. Every time they drew closer, I'd wake up drenched in sweat, my body frozen, unable to scream. By the second week, I realized something horrifying. It wasn't just me. The townsfolk knew. I'd see them at night, walking quickly, avoiding the sky. Some even carried lanterns or old oil lamps instead of using their porch lights, as if electric light wasn't enough. And when I asked questions, when I mentioned the strange hums or the odd sky, they went silent. Their eyes darted away. Some even crossed themselves. The grocer, a frail woman with a crooked back, finally whispered to me one night when the shop was empty. Don't look up. It sees curiosity. That's how it chooses." I pressed her for more, but she refused to speak. She just shoved my groceries at me and shooed me away, her hands trembling. The last straw came 3 nights later. I couldn't sleep. The humming in my apartment was unbearable, and I kept pacing between the window and the bed. At some point, I gave in to the urge I'd been fighting for days. I looked up again, and this time, it was undeniable. The entire sky was moving. Not like clouds, not like a storm. The darkness itself rippled, undulating as though it were a living thing stretched across the heavens. And in the center, 2 massive eyes opened, glowing red, wide and hungry. My breath caught in my throat. I stumbled back from the window, but I couldn't tear my gaze away. That was when I heard the voice. Not with my ears, with my mind. "I see you." It was a whisper that rattled inside my skull, deeper than any voice I've ever heard. It wasn't speaking words exactly, but the meaning burned itself into me all the same. "I see you." And from that night on, I knew my life would never be the same. When the sky looks back at you, it's not just watching, it's waiting. I didn't sleep after that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I felt it staring at me. The air seemed heavier, like invisible hands pressing down on my chest. Even in daylight, I couldn't shake the sensation of being observed. I tried convincing myself it was all in my head, that maybe I'd been under too much stress, but the town wouldn't let me believe that. Something was happening to Black Hollow. The streets grew emptier each day. People started vanishing. I'd notice it at the diner or the grocery store. Tables where families used to sit were suddenly abandoned. A house that always had its porch light on now sat in complete darkness. No one mentioned it. No one ever mentioned it. But the absences piled up. The worst part? Their names, their very existence, seemed to fade from memory. The grocer who once warned me, her shop was shuttered, boarded up, as if she'd never been there. When I asked others about her, they looked at me with blank confusion. It was as if the watcher was erasing them. At night, the humming grew unbearable. It wasn't just in the walls anymore, it was inside me. My teeth chattered against each other from the vibration. Blood trickled from my nose. Sometimes, I'd wake up to find myself standing at the window, staring up, even though I didn't remember moving. One night, I caught my reflection in the glass. My eyes weren't normal. They glowed faintly, red at the edges, as though something inside me was bleeding into them. I stumbled back in horror, smashing the lamp on my desk to break the reflection. But deep down, I knew the truth. It had noticed me. And once the Watcher notices you, there is no escape. I tried leaving town. I packed my car and drove as fast as I could toward the highway. The streets were deserted, the gas stations abandoned, and the road ahead seemed endless. I drove for hours, yet somehow I was still in Black Hollow. No matter which turn I took, no matter how far I pressed the pedal to the floor, I always ended up back where I started. The exit roads bent back into themselves, looping endlessly, as if the town had been severed from reality. That was when I realized Black Hollow wasn't just a place anymore. It was a cage. By the third week, the sky never looked normal. Even on cloudy days, I could see hints of it through the breaks, those massive tendrils shifting across the heavens, blotting out the stars, dripping shadow into the world below. Sometimes they moved slowly, stretching far and wide, grazing the rooftops of houses. Other times, they struck fast, like whips. And when they struck, people disappeared. I saw it happen. I was at my window again. God help me, I couldn't stop myself. When a man across the street stepped outside. He was drunk, stumbling, shouting curses into the air. He dared to look up, bottle in hand. The moment his gaze locked onto the sky, the humming surged. I felt it rattling my bones. And then, something vast and black descended. It was like a tentacle, but not flesh. It was shadow, thick and writhing, dripping with stars that weren't stars at all. It wrapped around him, and in one violent pull, he was gone. No scream, no blood, just gone, as if he'd never existed. And then, silence. The street was empty again. His house darkened within minutes. By morning, no one remembered him, except me. I stopped going out at night, but that didn't save me. The dreams worsened. I dreamt of standing in an endless field, the ground pulsing like flesh beneath my feet. Above me, the sky bulged and twisted, its red eyes wide and unblinking, and from somewhere deep inside that cosmic shadow, I heard it whisper, "Closer." Each time I woke, I found myself closer to the window, closer to opening it, closer to stepping outside. I knew then, it wasn't just watching me, it was calling me. One night, I heard a knock at my door. 3 slow, deliberate knocks. I froze. No one in Black Hollow ever visited, especially not after dark. The knocking came again, louder this time. My heart thundered in my chest as I crept toward the door. "Who's there?" I whispered, no answer. Instead, a soft voice echoed through the wood, my own voice. "Let me in." I stumbled back, bile rising in my throat. It was me. My voice, distorted, echoing like it had traveled a long, long way to reach me. The door handle began to turn. I shoved the dresser in front of it, heart racing, sweat pouring down my face. For hours, the handle rattled, scratches gouged into the wood, and all the while, my voice kept repeating, soft and patient, "Let me in." When morning came, the door was silent again, but the scratches were still there, and so was the dread gnawing at me from the inside out. I don't know how much time passed after that. Days bled together. The town kept vanishing piece by piece. The humming drilled into my skull. And still, I couldn't stop looking. Because sometimes, when I stared long enough into the Watcher's eyes, I thought I saw something inside them. Not just hunger, not just malice, but recognition. As if it knew me, as if it had been waiting for me. The last night began with silence. But it wasn't the silence of sleep. It was the silence before something enormous moves. The air was heavy, bitter, like rust in my mouth. And then I heard it, the humming. Not outside this time, inside. The walls pulsed, eyes opening in every corner, staring at me. The whisper I once dreamed of now filled the house, closer. I ran. Outside, Black Hollow was gone, just shadows, fire on the horizon, and above me, it waited. The Watcher, enormous, endless, its tendrils reaching down like ropes, its eyes burning holes through my skin. Neighbors stumbled into the street, glassy-eyed, some screaming, some worshipping. One by one, they were lifted into the sky, swallowed by the thing above. And still, I looked up. The world vanished. I was in a void, surrounded by red stars, and I finally understood. The Watcher wasn't just watching, it was devouring. Countless towns, countless skies, forgotten, erased. Now it was our turn. Tendrils wrapped around me. My body burned, unraveling, dissolving into the dark. I begged, but there was no God here, only the sky. The last thing I saw was the earth below, blank, empty, as if Black Hollow had never existed. And then, nothing. Don't look at the sky too long, because if you do, it will look back.
Subscribe to